Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in. In this video, we're going to talk about how I went from the iPhone 11 to the Canon T6i to the Sony A7 II. As you know, I've done a few photo shoots with my iPhone 11 and they turned out great. So I just got started into photography. For those of you who don't know, it's been an interesting journey so far. I started with the iPhone 11 because that's just the phone that I use. I got some good photos from it and I learned that these phones are pretty powerful and do a lot of stuff for us already. Like the ISO, the aperture, things like that you can't really control on your phone without having a full-on app to help you go ahead and do that. And even then, it was still kind of a little tricky. So I decided to just go ahead and upgrade and, get a full camera. So the first camera that I started with is the Canon T6i. Now, I didn't do any research on this particular camera before I bought it, which is an error on my part, but luckily, because I'm a bargain shopper, I still got a really good deal on it and was able to sell it and actually upgrade to this bad boy. So I'll start at the beginning. I was actually looking for the Canon T6i. I know it was the higher end of the entry-level cameras, and I kind of wanted to start a little bit above that because I really wanted to get some really good shots in. I didn't know if the T3i or one of those cameras were going to be able to cut it for me. So I decided to go to the top of the food chain with entry level still. So it just so happened that my husband was browsing through Facebook Marketplace and found a pretty cool deal on a Canon T6i with a 24 to 105 millimeter lens. Now at the time, I didn't know what that lens was good for. And even now I'm still kind of like, I don't know. Is that something that I needed or was that kind of overkill? But since that was the only lens that it came with, of course, and the only lens that I had to kind of make do. So I did do a photo shoot. I did downtown Oklahoma City, the Marriott Gardens, and I posted that video before, so go ahead and check that out if you have not. It turned out pretty good. I mean, for the first time shooting with the camera, I ran into some uh-ohs because I didn't really know the battery life, and I'm not sure if I charged it before we even went or if I kind of just I'm not sure what happened. But what I do know is when I got there, probably, I don't know, like 15 minutes in, I started getting the signal saying that my battery was low. And I was like, oh shoot, I have to hurry up. So literally I ran through the entire complex, taking as many pictures as I can, trying to get some good shots so I can turn around and edit for you guys. Yeah, so it was a complete, it was a bummer. So I definitely need to do the Marriott Gardens again. I need to do it the right way and I bought a battery pack for actually this guy. I'll get to that later. But yeah, that was, a newbie mistake. So you're gonna see me talk about that a lot, newbie mistakes, and hopefully my mistakes help you guys learn. Hopefully you prevent these types of mistakes because I mean, it's a bummer sometimes. So yeah, that happened. But overall, I still got some pretty decent shots and I was happy with it, but I felt like the images weren't as crisp and clear as I want. No matter how much I tried to focus in or how still I was or whatever the case is, it just wasn't as sharp. And again, I'm not knocking the camera at all because I am a novice and I more than likely made tons of mistakes. I probably didn't have my ISO correct, even though I believe I shot mostly in AV mode, which is aperture priority mode. I could have adjusted some things probably and came out with some sharper images, more colorful images, but for the first time shooting with the camera, I don't think I did too bad. By the way, I always like to include the price of something that I paid for so that you guys know what things may cost and if it's something that's in your budget. For the Canon T6i with the 24 to 105 millimeter lens, which is a telephoto lens, I got that for $420. When I realized I really wanted something else, then I went ahead and placed it back on the market. But pro tip, if you're gonna sell, if you can, sell your camera separately from your lenses. That's what I noticed. If I would have bundled that lens in that camera, I probably would have got a lot less for it. I ended up selling the camera for $275. It was a Facebook deal, so there was no fees or nothing like that. The lens actually sold that on eBay, which has a 10% fee plus shipping. So I sold that for $280 minus fees. I was at like $240. So together that comes to $515. So I sold both separately, and I made more than how much I bought it for. Remember, I bought it for $420. So with that money back, I went ahead and bought the camera that I really wanted, which at that point I did do research extensively on this camera. And I took it upon myself to go to a local camera store to see how much they were selling them for, used and new. And I, got to hold it and feel it and make sure I still loved it, because before I bought any camera, I immediately liked the way the Sony felt in my hand. So I already kind of wanted Sony before, and then I learned the difference between the full frame and the APS-C, I want to say, the crop sensor basically. And I wanted the full frame, which essentially is a full frame, doesn't have the crop sensor. So I really wanted that to make sure that I get some really killer photos of the products that I want to be taking pictures of. I think that worked out, pretty good on my end. So that's essentially how I went from the iPhone 11 to the Canon T6i to now the Sony A7 II. The camera store actually had it for $750, but luckily I found somebody on Facebook here locally and they were selling it for $650. Body only. So I did have to go and buy a lens. Pro tip for those of you who don't know, these cameras, DSLRs, mirrorless, they don't work without a lens. I know that may sound obvious, but I did not know that prior to getting into this. I didn't know that for my first camera, but luckily that one came with the lens, so that wasn't a problem. But this one being body only, I had to ask the seller to bring a test lens for me to make sure that everything was working fine. I bought this lens online. I initially tried to buy it used. I found a good deal on Craigslist for a 50mm lens. Turns out that wasn't a full frame lens, it was just the regular E-mount. So those who don't know, full frame cameras, they have normally an FE on there, so E-mount is still the same, but the F just stands for full frame. Any full frame camera that you buy, you have to buy a lens that is also full frame in order to see everything. If not, you're gonna see like a vignetting type of thing. Unless you go into the camera settings, there is a way that you can basically add a crop sensor, something along those lines. So then I guess it'll take out that that vignetting because it'll crop it down. But if you want to use the max capacity of the camera at full frame, then you need a full frame lens. Those lenses do cost more. I mean, that's just that's photography. I'm learning that it's very expensive. And then I bought the 50mm lens, Sony lens, for $200. And this 50mm is actually really good for portrait photography. And that's really it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope any of this was relevant or useful for you. If you like this video, please give us a like, and if you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification button, and we'll see you in the next one.